Hey Internet! So today I thought we would do something different, and this is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. I just couldn't decide what book I wanted to do because I absolutely adore reading. I'm just a very verbal person, and every single night before I go to sleep I read a book. When I travel I read a book, and I don't even read as much as I would like to because so much of my time is taken up by reading, but reading law books instead of, fun books. But I don't know, I just couldn't decide what to do, and then it just came to me that I had to do my favorite book of all time as my first book review because, what else would you do for your first book review? So yeah, this is my favorite book of all time ever written that I have ever read, which is quite something to say, because that places it above Twilight. You guys know I love Twilight. I've read Twilight about 3 times, I think, not equally for each book, and I have read this book about 4 or 5 times. And just to show you the cover, this is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and you may have seen one of the movie adaptations for this. There have been several. In my opinion, they are all awful, and they are absolutely nothing like the book, so I wouldn't even compare them. I'm not even gonna go there. But this is a really beautifully written book. Categorically, it's called a gothic romance. That's just the genre of the novel, but it is a part of classic literature. But it's very easy to read, and I actually wrote an essay about this in high school because I loved it so much, and it got approved for my diploma. So that tells you it is officially part of classic literature if you want to expand your readings a little bit, but it's a fiction book, and Daphne du Maurier is a very easy to read author. It's just very enjoyable. She's an excellent writer. Well, she's not alive anymore, but yeah, she really writes beautifully. And this book is my favorite of hers. I do think it is her masterpiece. I read this book the first time when I was pretty young. I think I was about 14. I think it's pretty appropriate for all ages. So if I were to sort of categorize this book without, saying that it's classic literature or gothic romance, I would say that it's really, in practice, it's a whimsical romance turned suspense as the book goes on. And if you do start reading it, in my real life, I tell everyone I know to read it because I think it is so wonderful. And some people that I know who have started reading it then give up within the first few chapters because they don't really see it going anywhere, and it seems like it's very descriptive and, not going anywhere. Please keep reading it if you do feel like that, because it gets more and more and more interesting as the story goes on, and that's part of what I love about it, that it is so multifaceted. So yeah, I think you will also like this book if, like me, you enjoy books that are written in the first person. I enjoy that because it adds an interesting element of suspense because you know what is going on in that person's head, their perceptions, which deepens, the character development for the central person, the central character, or the protagonist, if we want to get fancy. But you don't know what other people know. So it's sort of more interesting than if it's written in the third person, especially if you know what everyone knows, because then, I don't know, it's just not as interesting as being inside someone's head, which is very much what this book is like. So if that sounds good to you, then you are very likely to enjoy this. I know for me, after reading this, I haven't really found another book where I feel so deeply entrenched in that character's experience and emotions as I am in Mrs. De Winter's persona in this book. And a little random fact that doesn't really give anything away. It's quite strange about this book because you actually never learn the protagonist's name, like her first name. It is not anywhere in the book. Some people say that there are some hints along the way. I really don't think that there is. I think that it's sort of that way for a reason. That we don't know her name because to a certain extent she is just a vehicle for us, and although we feel her emotions during her story, we don't really, I don't know, it's interesting. It's like she's just sort of passing through, in a way, the storyline, and I just adore it so much. Read it, read it, read it. But yeah, if I just kind of read you the back cover, this is an older edition. I know the covers for it look different now. I've had it for so long that that's unsurprising. But I like what they wrote on the back here. I think it's very representative of the story. So I hate sort of, you know, reading stuff to you like this is class, but I'm going to read this to you. So it says, which is the first line of the book, it says, "Last night I dreamt I went to Manderley again." And then it just gives you a little, so that's the first line of the story, and then it just gives you a little resume. And it says, "Ancient, beautiful Manderley, between the rose garden and the sea, is a county's showpiece. Rebecca made it so, even a year after her death. Rebecca's influence still rules there. How can Maxim de Winter's shy new bride, the protagonist, ever fill her place or escape her vital shadow? A shadow that grows longer and darker as a brief summer fades until, in a moment of climactic revelations, it threatens to eclipse Manderley and its inhabitants forever. Daphne du Maurier's masterpiece weaves a special magic that no one who reads it will ever forget." And that very last part of the resume just kind of sums it up for you, and I don't know, every time I see the back cover of the book, I'm like, that is so true, because once you read it, you will never forget it. And it isn't so much the story, but for this book, I think it's really interesting because it's not so much the characters, although it sort of is. The character of Rebecca is certainly one that you don't forget, but it's the writing and the tone of the writing and just how beautiful it is that you never forget, and the literary techniques that she uses to bring the story to life, especially, you know, the character of Rebecca and this ancient, stately, beautiful home called Manderley that is sort of famous. Like, I feel like you may have heard of Manderley even though it's not a real place, but not read the book anyway. Just, it's really interesting the way she uses plants and lots of interesting metaphors like the ocean and different scents as well. Just all of the description in the book is very strong, very potent, I suppose, and you could say that it reflects a lot of elements from the plot as well. But I don't want to tell you too much about the plot because that would give it away. I think all I can really tell you is that she gets married to Maxim de Winter, who owns Manderley, this beautiful house, which is, you know, like, think, like, if you've seen Downton Abbey, it's something like that, like a really huge manor in a beautiful location, and it has lots of servants as well who also live there, and one of them does have a pretty central role in the story. And it's his new bride who he meets, I believe it's Monte Carlo or somewhere in the south of France, and brings her home, and it's kind of what happens after that and what she finds out about his past, and especially about his past wife, whose name is, you guessed it, Rebecca. So for sure, I guess, one of the at least surface reasons why Daphne du Maurier chose to name the book Rebecca and not name his new wife is because, you know, that's reflective of her struggle to sort of fit in to this place and the people who are there, and for them to accept her. And this idea that she can never really replace the infamous Rebecca, and you will find out more and more about Rebecca as the story goes on. And yeah, oh my goodness, just talking about it makes me want to sit down and read it right now, but I can't because I have to go back to studying, which is sad. But yes, go to your local library. They are very likely to have it if you have a library card. If you don't, you should. You really don't need to buy this, but if you do want to buy it, you will not regret it, because if you enjoy it, you are likely to read it over and over and over, like me. And like, look how worn this book is. It's just so well thumbed that the pages are literally soft, and it's not like an antique book or anything. When I got this, it was new. And yeah, I guess that's really all there is to say, so I will let you guys go. Thank you so much for listening to my book ramble. If you do like this type of video, let me know in the comments below, so I will share other books that I love with you. Yeah, that's it. See you next time.